Welcome, everyone. This is our first call of 2022 for WomenITpros. And we are at our new time because we're also hoping to maybe invite some people from the EU area over here by running a little bit earlier, at least early for us in Redmond, and maybe picking some folks up on the East Coast in noon. So we're just glad you can be here, whatever time zone you're in. And we have a fantastic call today. We have Jen Weigel talking about presence, practical tips to build personal power and increase confidence. So before we start, a couple of intro type things. Please let anybody in from the lobby. We do have people external to Microsoft joining us. This is an open call, and we just have the lobby on for keeping out any potential trolls that could wander by. But in the chat window, we love to use the chat. It's a great place for you to get to know each other. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So your name and at least one reason why you wanted to be here for Jen's talk today. And then if you want to do a little bit more networking, throw in some extra stuff here. So what kind of work you do, where you work, because not everybody here will be at Microsoft, where in general you live. You may find a new neighbor there. Social media, if you'd like to connect to people on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you're doing there. And I also like to put in any events you're planning to go to, especially because now with things being digital, we have a lot of opportunity to go to these virtual events together. There were some great things I was able to do at Grace Hopper back in the fall and meet some people there. So feel free to throw that in the chat window and I will get mine in there eventually if it'll show up for me. Let's see, how is my audio doing? I just got the bad audio quality. Is it okay?
I can hear you well.
Okay. All right. So next piece. My computer is a little slow on Friday. There we go. So as I was saying, we use the chat window a lot. Feel free to, find a new friend there, make comments on the side. It's a great way to help us connect and network a little bit here. There may be some times where it's going to be fine to come off mute, so we'll let you know if that happens. And we also have our WomenITpros group in LinkedIn, so we encourage you to use that as a discussion forum and another way to connect with people. And I'll put those links in the chat window a little bit later. And I'll put them in the link for the recording as well. So what we have upcoming, the EU group has moved to doing podcasting, so you can see all of their recordings directly on our YouTube channel. And then, as I mentioned, we're hoping that by running this one 9 a.m. Pacific time, that we may also pick up some more EU people, make this a little bit more of a joint experience here. Our Asia Pacific call is on the last Thursday of the month at noon in, I can't remember if it's Sydney or Brisbane time. And then that ends up being Wednesday evening for us here in Pacific time. So definitely follow us on Eventbrite, and that way you'll be able to find the invites for those since they post those up there. Our next US event will be on Friday the 28th. That's our Space Vr Meetup, and you do not need VR headsets to join us. You can just do it with a Windows or a Mac app. And it's just an informal place. We're able to speak a little bit more informally. Sorry, I was in DC the last 3 days, and I'm very jet lagged right now, so my brain's a little bit scrambled. Then our next WomenITpros US call, we do these on the second Friday of the month at 9 a.m. And we're going to try something different in February. We're going to try using Twitter Spaces, and not here in Teams like we've been doing, but we're going to try a new format, and we're going to have some more discussion and see if that's something that helps drive a little bit more of a community experience. So let's see, I saw a couple intros there. Do feel free to post your intro in that chat window. Just let us know a little bit about who you are and why you're coming to these events. We also have a survey that I'm going to ask everyone to take. You might want to jot that note down. There it goes. Oh. Come on, Teams, work with me here. Okay, yes. Survey. Stop. Great. I'll put the link in the chat window, but we definitely want to get your feedback, especially, moving into a new year here. We're going to be trying some new things. Just let us know how it's working for you. And then this is something that I started as a grassroots initiative. It is, I do not pretend to speak for Microsoft, even though I work at Microsoft. Jen, our speaker today, also works at Microsoft, but she is not speaking on behalf of Microsoft. You know, we have a lot of people who show up here. It's really just a chance for us to come together, use the technology that we have accessible to us to build bridges across the community. So glad everyone could be here for that. So Jen is actually someone who I have had the huge pleasure of working with. And I also always like to mention that Jen is the one who turned me on to Space VR. She was on our team like a week or two, and I met her and I was telling her about the MVP Summit and how I wanted more of a virtual experience. She said, oh, you should check out this thing called Space VR. And I said, well, I don't have a headset. She said, I don't think you need one. And my life changed. So I will always be grateful to Jen for that, but also just as a really interesting human to work with. And she's been a great mentor to me, really on the ball program manager, and you know, one of those people who just excels at bringing order out of chaos. She's had a lot of really interesting types of jobs. And so this is a presentation that that we were talking about a little bit. And I said, gee, I would love to see you do this for WomenITpros. So here we are kicking off January, and Jen, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I will stop my presenting.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to see if it'll get this one loaded up here. Make sure I can still see the chat and everything. So I am going to ask you all. Oh, so wait a second. You're seeing the full.
We're seeing your, yeah, the backstage view.
You're not seeing the forward view, which is this.
Yay! Okay, that worked.
So I am going to ask you all to use the chat box a lot, please. I want to make this interactive. I actually originally created this virtual and did this the first time like 6 years ago, before we were all doing more of remote and virtual work. But I was working out of a satellite office, and so I'd done this presentation for a bunch of folks back at our corporate office. So highly interactive. Really encourage you guys to lean in. Share, be a little bit vulnerable, right? Because we're going to be talking about some stuff that some people do find a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, I'll be honest, and I'll talk more about this during it, but like some of this like mind-body connection, I thought used to be really woo kind of stuff, right? And I've learned a lot more about it and realized that there really is a mind-body connection and can make a big difference. And so I do just encourage you guys, as much as you're willing, you know, please lean in, comment in the chat, and that way it'll help me interact with you as we go as well. So with that, and thank you for the amazing introduction, by the way, Kathy, much appreciated. So I'll give you just the really quick on how I came to get involved in this topic. So I saw Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on power posing, and I was really kind of intrigued by that. And I ended up reading her book, and I learned so much. And so I am not an expert in body language or anything by that, but this was just a topic that I ended up finding really fascinating. And I've learned some really practical tips that I've put into my own kind of practice and the way that I approach things. And so that's really what I'm here to do today, is share a little bit more of that with you all. So thank you for joining us along this journey. So imposter syndrome, it's that feeling of phoniness in people who believe they're not intelligent, capable, or creative, despite evidence of high achievement. And though these people are highly motivated to achieve, they live in fear of being found out or exposed as frauds. And a lot of studies have been done around this, and there's actually a pretty high percentage of folks in tech who have felt like an imposter before, right? I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story first. So 7 months after I graduated from law school, I went back to my law school to teach legal writing as an adjunct professor. I was teaching second-year law students. So these were students that had known me as a third-year student the year before, right? What possibly qualified me to teach them about appellate writing when I had just recently graduated myself? Complete imposter, right? I hadn't been practicing very long. I actually hadn't written any sort of appellate briefs myself, but I was working at the Court of Appeals for a bunch of judges and reading a lot of briefs and actually writing opinions, you know, so I had that perspective that I brought in, but I was absolutely terrified that they were going to see through me, that they would go to the dean and ask, why is she being allowed to teach a class when she was just in classes with us not that long ago, right? And the reality is some of them actually did. Worst fear, totally realized. They went to the administration in an uproar, questioning why they would allow me to teach the class. The administration backed me though, and as the weeks went by, they began to see that I had prepared tremendously for the class. I made an effort to make the material more interesting, because when I had taken the class myself, it certainly wasn't. I understood firsthand how judges thought, what they were looking for, but I had students the entire semester try to push me around. They blew off deadlines, they tried to ask questions to stump me, and I let them run over me at first, right? And like, I finished that semester thinking that I was absolutely crazy and I should never have agreed to teach the course in the first place. So here's a question for y'all, and find the reaction button up here at the top of Teams if you're not familiar with it. I would love to see a show of hands. How many of you have ever felt like a fraud? Seeing hand, yep, I'm seeing hands go up. It's a lot, right? It's absolutely a lot of us. We've all, I shouldn't say we've all, most of us have probably felt like a fraud at some point in our careers. You know, you've had that moment where you felt like you weren't qualified to be doing what you were doing. It's scary. It's absolutely scary, right? How did it make you feel? Type in the chat if you're willing to share. Useless, yes. Terrified to be found out. Inadequate, scared, all of those things, right? I mean, and honestly, I think this happens a lot as we take on new roles too. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they hired me. Why did they hire me? I didn't meet all of the job description. I can't do all of those things. Worried that you'd let people down, underconfident, self-conscious, all of those things, right? That's how it makes you feel. And how do you overcome that, right? I'm assuming most of you have overcome it at some point, but we continuously face these moments, right? It is total imposter syndrome. So as a follow-up to the law school story, I did not sign up to teach the next semester. I was completely disheartened by how they had taken advantage of my inexperience. Some of them actually went to the administration after grades came out, complained that the grades that they were given were not fair, but I stood by my evaluation of their skills. And so some time went by and a student actually reached out to me and he said that he had to write a brief for an internship he had that summer. He used all the tactics he had learned in my class, got really good feedback from his boss. His boss was an attorney who was notorious for picking apart the writing of his interns. And so when the school came back to me the next semester and said, will you write again? I thought, you know what? I do actually know what I'm doing. I can do this. And so I did it. I updated my syllabus so I had clearer rules. A lot of times that's, I think, how rules and processes are created, is you find loopholes that people try to push around. And I went in and I actually ended up teaching for the next 5 years and received an award actually at one point for being adjunct of the year. So the key is learning to accept the fact that you feel like a fraud, but the reality is that so does pretty much everyone else around you, right? And you all learn to fake it.
Have the breakfast, baby. I hear you, but you don't need to say it twice. I want you to say have breakfast and you can have gummies.
So the key is learning to accept that you feel like that fraud, right? The reality, like I said, everybody pretty much does. And it all really starts by recognizing your own personal power. So the question is what's the difference between personal power and social power? What does that actually mean, right? To be powerful, do you have to command a room? No. But you do have to learn how to command yourself. So personal power is that freedom from the dominance of others. It means you're open, you're optimistic, you're risk tolerant, you're more likely to recognize and take advantage of opportunities. Social power is the capacity to control others' behaviors. People think that they want social power, but what you really need is your own personal power. No one can take that away from you. Only you can give it away. So when you're feeling like a fraud, you're a lot more likely to give that personal power away, which is exactly what I did when I was in that classroom initially, right? Personal power is having that confidence to act upon your own beliefs, your attitudes, your values, with that sense that you are going to be effective. The things that you're doing will be. And effective doesn't always mean you're going to get the exact result that you desire, but rather it's coming away from the interactions, feeling like you fully and accurately represented who you are and what you want, right? It's feeling like you presented your boldest, sincerest self. And so when you feel powerless, you actually undermine your ability to trust yourself. When you're nervous, you also let other people take over your power. You tend to shift your thinking to see those big moments, that job interview, the big presentation. It shouldn't be a threat. You need to start thinking about how can we make it into a challenge. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's that opportunity to reframe so you can rise to the occasion rather than being frightened or threatened by it. Something else to keep in mind is that the reality is, even when you're at the center of attention, people aren't thinking of you. I know that sounds strange, but they actually did a study where professional baseball players, when they're up to bat, they felt like all the eyes were on them. Even more nervous, you know, when all of their stats are displayed on the Jumbotron, you know, surely everybody must be thinking, wow, what a terrible batting average he has. He's so likely to miss. But the reality is people in the stands, they're eating, they're drinking, they're talking to friends, they're taking selfies. As a human race, we're self-centered, and we're actually rarely focused on the people who are at the center of attention right now. So that's just something to keep in mind. Is you probably feel like all eyes are on you. I guarantee it looks like there's 40 people on this call. They're not all on me. Actually, I see somebody on hold too, so they're definitely not all on me, right? Like a lot of you are multitasking, you're doing other things, you're listening in the background. So I could have something on my face and you wouldn't even notice. That's just something to keep in mind. Remember a moment when a conversation or a presentation didn't go your way. Okay, find that reaction button again at the top of the screen. I want to see a quick show of hands. How many of you spent hours after that reliving the conversation or the presentation, picking apart everything that you should have said, coming up with maybe a perfect retort, a way you should have answered the question? I see lots of hands going up very quickly. I think most of us have had those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I say that earlier? Why didn't I think of that in the moment, right? The more time you spend ruminating, the hours and days after it happened, the more powerless you are. You're actually giving up your personal power by doing that. Yield, obey, subordinate. How does this slide make you feel? What's your initial impression when you see this? Please type it in the chat box if you're willing to share. Powerless, lacking control, small, constricted. Exactly. You're feeling like you are taking no. I love that too. It's telling you signs of weakness. These are all things, right? Control, leadership, authority, command. What does this slide make you feel? You're in the driver's seat. Maybe you're more willing to question what someone's telling you. You're feeling more confident, right? It's the complete opposite of what a lot of those feelings were. You know, we saw the yield, obey, subordinate as signs of weakness. These are more signs of being powerful and confident, right? Participants in a study found that the words on the first slide made them feel like they lacked authority. Sounds like a lot of those. A lot of you are feeling the same way. And the second slide made them think of power. It's amazing how just even these little words and these little cues can make a difference. I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. I want you to take a minute now and recall a moment when you personally felt powerful. Think about a moment when you had confidence to act on your boldest, sincerest self. Maybe you're at work, your school, home, somewhere else. Think about that. Think about how it felt. What happened? How did you react? What was it that made you feel powerful in that moment? How did you feel? Was it power? Was it something else? Was it confidence? Was it, I can go take on the world? if you're willing to share, and I know this is being brave, big ask, please type in the chat. What was that moment where you felt powerful? For me, one of those moments I kind of shared earlier, right? When that student had reached out and said, I learned a lot. Like, I got a compliment. I was told I did a good job with the writing and I applied the things that you had taught me. That was one of those moments where I was like, wow, maybe I actually do kind of know what I'm doing here. Maybe I can do this, you know? And if you're not willing to share, that's totally fine too. But think about this moment. Think about some time when you felt powerful. And it can be the smallest thing too, right? It can be absolutely the smallest thing. If you're thinking about those good things right now, though, how do you feel right now in this moment, thinking about that memory, right? For me, thinking about that student and that feedback that they gave me, that they applied it and they were successful, makes me feel good, right? Makes me feel confident remembering that moment. And that was years ago. Recalling this memory is priming yourself, right? You've just been primed. Your psychological state right now is infused with feelings of confidence and strength. When you're feeling powerful, you interact and observe things more accurately. You're also more likely to forgive. People with high sense of personal control cope better in crises because their executive functions are intact. And you don't see it personally threatening, given that you feel personally in control. Sounds easy, right? When you're feeling threatened or nervous, how do you reclaim that personal power? Yeah, I love what somebody just said. It feels like you're where you're supposed to be and like you deserve what you have. Yes, exactly. That's that personal power piece, being that powerful. But like I said, when you're feeling nervous, when you're feeling threatened, how do you reclaim that? Well, this is where we're going to get into how you can actually use your body to try to overcome some of those things. So this is where power posing comes in play. Reaction button again at the top, quick show of hands. How many of you have ever power posed? Ooh, I'm not, okay, there's a couple hands, but I was gonna say if nobody on this call has, that's amazing actually, because we're gonna all do it. You're all gonna answer yes to this question by the time we're done with today's session. But so power posing, right? I'm gonna show you guys some different types of poses. So power posing is one of the powerful poses. There's also other ways that your body language conveys a lot of power. So in the chat box, especially if you're quick on the trigger, which one of these is more powerful? One or two? Two. Yep, I'm seeing some twos already. What about this one? 3 or 4? Which one looks more powerful here? Seeing some 3s. What about this one? 5 or 6? Which one looks more powerful? Well, those of you who said you've power posed before, this is probably an easy giveaway because 6 is the power the power pose. What about this one? 7 or 8? Why does one seem more powerful as we're looking at these, right? And why do some of the other ones seem less powerful? You look at 9 and 10. I mean, it seems pretty obvious looking at these side by side, right? What's more powerful? What's less powerful? And why? Are there patterns that you see? Open body language versus closed, absolutely. And so here's all of them. The powerful ones are the purple ones, which you've all already identified. And the orange ones are the less powerful. It is, a lot of that's the open body language. Think about those things that they have in common. They're taking up space. We'll talk a little bit more about the specific things that you can do, but this really makes a difference. And I'll tell you, the first time when I read Amy Cuddy's book and saw this, I started thinking about, oh my gosh, when I go into meetings, back when we all used to have them in rooms together, right? And you were in a defined space. I often would cram myself into a small space at the table. I wouldn't take up the space. There were crowded rooms. I didn't feel like I owned it. Sometimes I wouldn't even sit at the table, you know? I probably don't have a seat there. I'll sit on the edge of the room. And what I was doing was giving up my personal power by doing all that. Now, that's not to say you go into a huge meeting and sprawl across the entire table, but there's these little things that you can do with your body just to take up a little bit more space. You're also, yeah, that's a really great point too. You're also more relaxed in a lot of these poses. They probably seem more natural. You know, like the number 5, when I look at the crossed arms and the crossed feet, that doesn't even seem very comfortable, right? But it's probably because I'm feeling uncomfortable. But I'm also telling my body that I'm giving up my own power. So my body's telling my brain that. Think about athletes, right? Crossing that finish line in a victory stance. Gymnast in that starting position, arms up, chin up, chest open. You've got the military stance with the straight backs. You've got Sherlock Holmes steepling his fingers. Now compare that to the posture and the stance that you often take day to day. At lunch, when you're walking around, when you're looking at your phone, when you're in a waiting room. There's actually a term, this is probably more common now, but the first time I gave this, I hadn't heard of this, called eye hunching. You know, the way you're hunched over the back of your phone. These positions are all open, expansive, more confident. The latter ones, the ones we naturally fall into, we go into a meeting and we're bored out of our minds. You probably find yourself doing this too, like even in remote, you're sitting at your desk. Are you sitting more open and expansive in a lot of your meetings, or are you still hunched over your computer? Are you hunched over your phone? Are you doing positions that, and this stuff you don't think about. I never thought about any of this, honestly. So it's like, these are just the natural positions your body tends to fall into. The way that we carry ourselves from moment to moment can blaze the trail that our lives take, right? The way that you carry yourself is a source of personal power. It's that kind of power that's the key to presence. So taking control of your body language isn't just about posing in a powerful way. It's that your body poses in a powerless way much more often than you think. So this is all about just reclaiming yourself in a much more powerful way. All right, so only Kathy and I are on camera here, and I'm not going to ask any other buddy to come on camera. Kathy, if you even want to go off camera, that's fine. But wherever you're joining from us right now, if you are able to stand up, okay, just stand up. I want you, yes, this is where we get into power posing. I want you to think about the way Wonder Woman stands. Whether your Wonder Woman is the classic Linda Carter, you're channeling your Beyonce, or you're going a little more contemporary with Gal Gadot. Put your feet shoulder width apart. Put your hands on your hips. Feel the way that your shoulders are expanding, right? They're a little bit more open. Studies have actually shown that holding this pose for a few minutes prior to an interview or presentation makes people more confident. I actually, one of the reasons I love remote work right now is anytime I have to present in a big meeting, I stand up and do it. You can't tell, I mean, you probably tell I'm standing right now, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't seem awkward. Whereas if I was in a meeting room with chairs around the table, it'd probably look a little bit weirder if I stood up and everybody else was sitting down. And so one of the beauties is like, I always stand up because my body feels more primed. I feel more confident when I'm having these conversations with executives and when I'm presenting in audiences like this, right? I just find, and if I get into conversations that are a little bit heated too, I will actually stand up in the middle of the conversation because it helps me just try to notice these things about my body language. So you guys can sit down. If you're still standing up, go ahead and sit down, but y'all just power pose. So thank you. So some of the benefits of power posing, because it's not just confidence, right? So your testosterone actually increases. That's your assertiveness hormone. Your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, decreases. Powerless poses show the opposite. You have lower testosterone and higher cortisol. Your posture and the way that you walk, so more open, expansive versus slumped, impacts your memory too. You actually receive information when you're open, and you're more likely to remember that. You're more likely to remember the positive versus the negative as well when you're open. So one of the reasons they make military stand at attention is to receive those messages. The strength is more awareness to receive important messages. So they're more open to that. And our movement, like our posture, tells our brain how it feels and even manages what it remembers, right? So think about that. Walking becomes more open, you're upright, you're buoyant, your memories are going to start following suit. When we feel powerful, we even, our voices actually spread out too, and they take more space than when we feel powerless. Taking pauses, not rushing your words. These are ways of claiming space. Don't be afraid to pause. You need to feel like you deserve the time that you're using. You also make more direct eye contact. Just naturally, you tend to do that when you slow down. People who speak slowly are less likely to be interrupted, and they actually have a higher chance of being heard clearly and understood as well. So expanding your body language through your posture, your movement, your speech also makes you feel more confident and powerful, less anxious, self-absorbed, generally more positive, like I've said. Studies have shown that expanding your body can toughen you to physical pain. And we've already talked about how it makes you more confident as well. So think about that. Think about that the next time you're sitting in a meeting and you feel powerless. Are there some physical adjustments you can make, especially when you're not on camera? It's even easier, right? It's one of the beauties of being remote right now for most of us, is you can make those adjustments. Feels counterintuitive. Yes, it does. It does. And think about that. The speakers that you admire, you'll see that they're open. When you watch TED Talks or any of those types of inspirational talks, recorded presentations, they have that open body language because it really does make a difference. So when should you power pose, right? I already talked about it. You could do it in meetings. Think about this. So you want to take notice of situations and people that trigger powerless body language so you can get prepped in advance. So think about some of those challenging situations you find yourself in, right? It could be a heated conversation with a colleague as you're trying to sort out maybe some collaboration or decision making. You could be frustrated in a conversation with your boss. You could be frustrated in a conversation with one of your employees. I mean, whatever it is. You could be frustrated in a conversation with your husband. I mean, honestly, I most of the time I don't think about the body language when I'm arguing with my husband, but sometimes stepping up and actually just walking around a little bit helps me reframe and become a little bit more positive. That's not walking away, just walking around a little bit, because the positions that you're often in are those powerless positions. So anytime you're in a new situation, meeting new people, speaking a non-native language in a foreign country, just give yourself an opportunity to power pose ahead of time, right? Because it will give you a little bit more confidence. That can be very nerve-wracking for a lot of people. I actually made, so I gave this talk, I used to work at Amazon, and I gave this talk to a room of 200 engineers. And we were talking about networking as well. And I made all of them stand up in power pose. And I actually didn't think a whole lot of it in the moment, but somebody came up to me afterwards. And they were like, I never thought I'd see 200 engineers power posing. Like, you actually did something kind of miraculous here today. But it got them talking to each other. By the end of the conversation, most of them didn't know each other. There was networking going on. And I think it's because everybody stood up in that room. Everybody did it together, which helps, but they all were a little bit more open because of just the positions of their bodies. When you're, I just said meeting new people, when you're ending a relationship, when you're speaking up for yourself or someone else, when you're quitting your job, when you're giving or receiving, like right before, I should say, before giving or receiving critical feedback. So if you know that you've got to have a tough feedback conversation, go power pose a little bit, right? Do it right before the call, do it while your camera's off. I mean, whatever it might be, prime your body. Just spend 2 minutes before that, helping your body prime. Before a job interview. So the first time I saw Amy Cuddy's, that was my big takeaway. And so I do and I've been on a lot of job interviews. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I've had a lot of jobs. I would go into the bathroom stall and power pose. It became part of my routine, and power pose before interviews because it just made me feel a little bit more confident. And then I'd make a point, because I'd go back and sit in the waiting room, you're waiting for them to come in, to be more relaxed, to be more open and not have the closed body, the body language, because it really did help prime my brain for the conversation that I was going to have. In auditions, athletic events, before a class discussion or a negotiation, a big presentation, we've already talked a little bit about. So there's a lot of different opportunities for you to power pose. And you don't necessarily do the full power pose. We'll talk about some of the other posture adjustments you can make that are a lot smaller than that too. It's also important to maintain strong and upright open postures. So this is kind of like, if you're in the middle of an argument with someone, you don't want to just stand up, and do the Wonder Woman. That would not go over well with my husband. Trust me on that one. Probably wouldn't go over well with most of the people that you may be having a very charged interaction with. So, and actually it's likely to backfire. There was a study done that showed in job interviews, eye contact and a strong handshake didn't make a difference. If you were too overt about use of body language, people saw it as inauthentic and manipulative. So it's really more about it being natural, just being naturally friendly, not trying to, over pump the handshake kind of thing, or claim the space in a really, really weird place. By the way, I see a couple other people said they always power pose for interviews. Thank you. I'm glad it's not just me. It makes a difference. So some of the more subtle things you can do to maintain your presence during an interview is just channeling good posture too. Keep your back, your shoulders back, your chest open. Make sure you sit or stand up straight. Breathe slowly and deeply. Keep your chin up and level. So you don't want to raise it too far so that you're looking down your nose at people, but you don't want to be dipped either, right? Just keep it level. When you're stationary, kick your feet back flat on the ground. Don't wrap your ankles around the chairs. Don't cross your ankles. You want to make sure you feel solid, not like you're going to lose your balance if someone bumped into you. When you can, move around, use props, especially when presenting, right? Movement's more engagement for your audience. You'll see that in a lot of TED Talks, a lot of pros that do speaking. It's more energizing and powerful for you as the speaker. It also helps the audience stay more engaged. And use of props too. Using props makes you stretch out, right? Like if you're standing, you can rest a hand on a table or back of the chair. If you're sitting, you can lean forward, place your hand on the table, rest your arms on the chair. I mean, there's ways to do that without closing your body off too. So just think about those little cues. Okay, one more exercise. And again, Kathy, if you want to go off camera for this one too, I don't care. Because I made the engineers do this one too in the room, but I made them all do it. So it was strength in numbers. So grab a pen or a pencil. Put it in your teeth like this. We're going to hold it for 30 seconds, okay? I'll start talking at 15, but don't drop it yet. Okay, keep holding it until I say stop. So holding this in your mouth forces you to use the same muscles that you use when you're smiling. Science suggests that exercising these muscles can help you feel more pleasure. So if you walk into a potentially challenging situation with a smile, even if you have to step into a bathroom or a corner for a minute to hold a pencil, you're going to feel a little more comfortable. So just think about that. And again, beauty of working from home. You could do this. If you're feeling potentially challenged in a conversation, you're not on camera. And it looks like we're gritting, right? You kind of have that moment where you're like, I'm gritting this. By the way, you can take your pencil out of your mouth now. But it's priming the exact same muscles. So even though you might be feeling more like you're gritting, you're using the same muscles as smiling. And that actually sends signals to your brain and increases that confidence. So presence isn't about winning. It's about approaching that big challenge without dread, executing without anxiety, and leaving without regret. How do you build your presence? It's that incremental changes. Nudge yourself a little bit each day. Encourage yourself to be a little bit more courageous, act a little more boldly, slow down and take some time, right? So self-affirmations like I'm confident actually usually fail. But more of like the mind-body approach, like power posing, rely on your body. So that has more of a primitive and direct link to your mind. Your body's telling yourself, your brain, that you're confident, even if you're not feeling confident. And in your head, you don't think you're confident. So slow down. Speak slowly. Take pauses. Occupy the space. It's all about power. Taking your time to figure out how to respond to decisions in high pressure moments is power. You get an email that puts you on the defensive. It can be really, really tempting to respond immediately, coming from that place of anxiety and threat. But taking time to reflect on it, to even sleep on it, usually changes your frame of mind. Take your time. Claim the time as yours. Perfect example of this happened to me this week. I got put on the spot. I had to present something with no notice whatsoever in the middle of a meeting that had a lot of people on it. And I got off the meeting. I was really frustrated because that's not the way I like to operate. I like to be thoughtful. I felt rushed. I didn't really even have a chance to evaluate the audience and, making sure that I was really thinking about what was in it for them and landing the right message. And I was super, super frustrated. And I was ready to blast an email to a bunch of people saying, like, that's not cool. Don't put me in that position again. I don't appreciate it. And I slept on it. And the next day I was like, well, that would have been dumb to send the email. It wouldn't have really got me anywhere. And they probably all would have thought, she can't handle high pressure situations, So sometimes it's best to just curb that thing that you think you have to respond to right away and just give it a little cool off time, right? I did end up sending a follow-up note. It was a completely different tone than it would have been in that moment. Take that time. That's me claiming my personal power. When you're in a high anxiety situation, you're going to feel that fight versus flight, right? Do I fight? Do I fly? Instead of telling yourself to stay calm, and this is probably going to be a little bit counterintuitive for some folks, tell yourself to get excited. Welcome the challenge. Studies found that reframing your feelings before an audition, psyching yourself up, resulted in actors and singers saying they were in the moment and they actually forgot about the audience and the audition in the moment, right? They just had fun doing it. That confidence comes through as natural. And for those in the study, it actually resulted in them landing the role, right? So reframing focuses on the moment in front of you, simply reframing the meaning of the emotion you're experiencing, nudging from anxiety to excitement. You shift your psychological orientation and you harness what you need to succeed under pressure. So think about that the next time. Can you get excited instead of feeling just the dread and the fear and I want to flee? Find a pose or poses that work for you, right? Power pose for yourself. Don't force it. So it doesn't mean if the power pose that we didn't feel natural, don't do that, right? But just figure out, what am I doing to keep my body a little bit more open, my feet grounded? I mean, whatever it is, find something that works for you. And fit it into your posture throughout the day, right? So really easy way to do this is get out of the bed in the morning, practice a couple minutes in your favorite poses. When you're brushing your teeth, you can power pose when you're brushing your teeth. Keep it nice and open. You can have one hand on your hip, the shoulders straight apart, whatever it might be. When you can find it, take the opportunities of privacy in public spaces. Obviously, working from home, I think it's a lot easier for a lot of us to do this when we are at home. Don't sit in a waiting room hunched over your phone. Stand up or sit and stay open. Walk around if you have those options. Adopt open gestures. So arms outstretched with palms up. This is more welcoming. Now you don't want to do, if I do it super intentionally, this seems awkward and uncomfortable, but just think about what's natural for you. Avoid penguin arms too. I like this one. Don't pin your upper arms to your side and only gesture with the lower half, right? Claim some of that space. You can set posture reminders for yourself, like don't eye hunch, sit up straight if you find yourself doing this. I actually bought a device about 2 years ago. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it sticks on the back of my neck and it will buzz. And I get an alert on my phone if I'm bending over too much, right? Because I found that I was slumping a lot at my desk. And so there's things that actually will help you with that. Put Post-it notes by your desk, your mirrors, your doors, something that you can look up to as you're walking through them or as you're sitting here. Hang pictures of those that make you feel happy to force you to look up through the day. This is really good since you've been working from home. So it could be an inspirational quote up here. It could be a picture of your family, something that actually forces you to look up. Where's that? Oh, if you tend to sleep in the fetal position, stretch in bed before you fall asleep and stretch before you get out of bed. Oh yeah, upright trainer. That's exactly what it is. Thank you, Catherine, for putting that in the chat. It's an upright trainer. It's a cool little device, especially if you have problems slumping or you just find yourself, you do it consistently in your back. For me, my back and my neck were starting to hurt. So that's why I actually purchased it, to try to break that habit. Combine power posing with daily routine. I think I already mentioned that one. If you spend a lot of time on the phone, which a lot of us probably do right now, Use a headset. I will say I switched over to a wireless one right when the pandemic started, and it's making a huge difference for me, at least, because I can get up and walk around when I'm actually on meetings now. And just being able to move makes such a huge difference. Same thing, sit stand desks. I mean, I think a lot of these were not standard back 5-6 years ago, which sounds crazy, but they're a lot more standard now. If you have those opportunities, try to leverage them. Take breaks too, to walk around throughout the day. Consider having walking meetings. You can even do it now that we're virtual, right? You take your phone with you and go. Kathy and I had one not that long ago, actually. So sometimes it's a great way to break up your day. And if you can't strike a pose mentally, if physically, you're just in a situation where you can't do that, do it mentally. Imagine yourself in that most powerful, expansive pose that you can think of. Be that superhero in your thought bubble. Another thing is you could have a mantra to remind yourself to turn around thoughts of self-doubt. I worked with a career coach at one point because I was trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, and I still don't entirely know, but I've got a little more directions now. And one of the things she kind of like helped me really think about is what other people think of me is none of my business. Think about how much time, how much my personal power I was giving up by being worried about what everybody else thought of me. It's exhausting. And they're going to think whatever they want to think of me. Why am I wasting my time thinking about that? So even just that mantra has stuck with me over the years. And so that turns around those thoughts of self-doubt. Oh, well, whatever that mantra might be for you. Crank your anthem, that song that makes you feel powerful. So I'll be brutally honest. I didn't sleep well last night. I woke up super low energy this morning. I did climb on and do a bike workout because I was like, if I don't exercise, I'm going to go into this presentation and be terrible. And then about 5 minutes before I got on the call with Kathy, I blasted a song in my office. And just because I needed something to get me kind of picked up and even more primed and ready for a conversation, right? So sometimes just having that one song that you can blast in the moment can make a huge difference. Another thing to do is prime the pump. That powerful memory that we were thinking about earlier, that time where you felt confident. Think about those moments. Try to recall one of those, right? Like that time when the student came to me and said, wow, I actually really learned something. When somebody paid you a compliment, you made that connection, you realize you made a difference in someone's life. Do that. Think about that moment. Prime your brain. And another thing you can do too is just breathing, right? Relaxation breathing. 2 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That helps relax your body and builds your presence for you as well, right? Because you tend to be more open with a lot of that breathing. So I'm almost done, I promise. That body-mind connection, posture, your breathing, yoga, lowering your vocal pitch, visualizing holding an expansive pose. Expanding your bodies changes the way that you feel about yourself. So find techniques that best suit you. Ultimately, expanding your body brings you to the present and will improve your performance, right? Now, don't quote me on that in your Connect, but it should help you overall. Your Connect to your performance review, I should say. Although your body language does govern the way other people perceive you, it also governs how you perceive yourself. And those are the perceptions that really, really matter, right? These perceptions become reinforced through our own behavior, our own interactions, and our own physiology. So why shouldn't you carry yourself with pride and personal power? You're awesome. You are. I mean, we all are, right? Like we all have those moments, and we shouldn't let the self-doubt get us. And easy for me to stand here because guess what? I've been priming, my body's been priming myself for the last hour. But it's amazing. Try it. Like you'll be amazed at how much of a difference it really does. It really does make, even though it seems super awkward and you're like, oh my gosh, this is totally not for me. When you carry yourself with pride and personal power, you're able to be present in your most challenging moments, right? So it's this quote, how you carry your body shapes how you carry out your life. Your body shapes your mind shapes your behavior shapes your future. First time I read it, I was like, it seems a little woo-y, but I've learned over the last 5 years that it's really actually true, and I've seen it into effect, right? So you can change your own life. If you understand how your body guides your mind, you can lead yourself to become bolder and more authentic, right? It's all about being present in those moments that challenge us. It's about trusting those moments to build themselves as we nudge ourselves forward, reinforce our thinking, our feelings, our physiology, These are the moments that can actually change your life, right? So don't fake it until you make it. Fake it until you actually become it, right? It's about incrementally nudging yourself to become that best version. Fool yourself. Fool your body, fool your brain just a little bit until you feel more powerful and more presence, and just start keeping up that practice. And so I would encourage every single one of you today to think about one of the tips that I shared earlier. Claiming the time, reframing, power posing, a mantra, an anthem, priming the pump, breathing. Find one tip that you think you could adopt pretty easily and try it out this week. Okay, I'm done. That's it. Power posing, presence, all the body tips. That's all I have for us today. But if people do have questions or want to chat about anything else, I know we've got a little bit more time. So feel free to come off of mute or drop something in the chat box. And Catherine did say she wanted to know what my song is. So my anthem that I blast is, and you guys, you'll laugh. If you haven't heard the song, you'll probably go play it after this and you'll be like, really? It's Meghan Trainor's Me Too. I just feel like it's one of those, like, she's BA. And so I listen to it and I think about how I am as well. Yeah, it's not fake it. So much as go through the motions. Exactly. Oh, The Middle. I love that song too. There's a bunch of really good ones and go-to songs that, you know, it's easy. Just figure out which ones get you going. I really like the it was from the movie Trolls, Justin Timberlake. Was that Can't Fight This Feeling? I really like, or Can't Fight This Feeling's a different song. It's something about feeling though. I can't remember what it is right now, but I really like that song too. Alexa tells me what it is. I just tell her to play the Trolls song and she knows.
Another good one is the last song in the movie Zootopia.
What song is that?
I can't remember. Shakira did it, but it's something about I'm falling and I'm getting back up again. And
I will have to check that one out. So yeah, it's just finding those things. Sunshine in Your Pocket. That's a really good one too. I have not heard Irene Carr's Fame. I'm going to write that one down too. See, now I'm going to have a playlist coming out of this presentation today.
We need a WomenITpros Spotify list.
We do. I like this.
You do your power posing to it. Thank you, Jen, so much. We do have a couple minutes. Does anyone have any questions? You can come off mute. You can throw it in the chat window. And if you do need to go early, I'm going to throw the link in the window again. We would love to get your feedback on this meeting and anything else that you'd like to see coming out of WomenITpros. Trying Everything from Zootopia. Thank you, Grace. Yes, that's a great song. Questions?
Does anybody have something they're going to try this week? If you're willing to share, whether in chat or coming off of mute, anything that you've taken away and you're like, oh, I might go do this.
So Lisa was asking, is this recorded? And yes, I'm putting my little standard ending block here about how you can find our meetings. Whether you're in, oh, actually, I need to change that. I changed my LinkedIn and my Twitter to Kathy Loves Tech. It's from CXP Kathy. And the YouTube channel is just WITpros-YouTube from the bit.ly short link there. So definitely you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll get this posted as soon as I have a chance, sometime today or early next week. And if you follow us on Eventbrite, then you'll get all of the notifications. And it looks like we're expanding some other platforms. I just found there was a tweet by Sonia Cuff, who runs our APAC group, and they're going to be doing theirs on LinkedIn Live. Next time, we're going to be doing ours on Twitter Live. So we're just, experimenting with a bunch of things in 2022, trying to bring people together. And speaking of bringing together, if you haven't introduced yourself yet and you'd like to in the chat window, or if you want to reintroduce yourself, because anyone who joined early and posted, the people who joined later probably didn't see it, because that's how Teams chat works now.
And for those of you that have shared a couple tactics that you're going to take away this week, thank you for sharing. I saw one that was trying power poses on work calls and with her teens. I really would be interested to see how that ends up going with teenagers. I have not tried any of these tactics to implement beyond adults. So it'd be very interesting to see how that's received.
Yeah, well, and I've dealt with depression all my life, and there was one time when I could just kind of sense I was heading into a depression, and for just like a week, I was doing the smile and the power posing, and it broke, you know. Didn't have to go down that route again.
Which is awesome, because it really can make a difference. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I was having like, this week has just been crap. It's been really, really hard, and I think it's been hard for a lot of people. Like, nobody anticipated where COVID would be at this point and just how it's sweeping everybody. And, you know, we come back into a new year and work is crazy. And so like, I hit a wall, and I ended up I left and went for a walk for a little while yesterday. And just even that physical motion made a difference. And I will tell you right now, I'm going to look at this week and I'm going to remember this as what's giving me energy. And it's going to prime me for the next couple of days, really. So even just these moments can make a huge difference. So thank you, actually. Thank you for scheduling this, because it ended up working out probably better for me than everybody else.
Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. We would love to see you at future events. So in the chat window there, I do have how you can find us. Keep coming back, you know, network with other women, help other women find us, because, you know, there are so many things out there for just generally women in tech, which is great. You know, we love that. But we also want to make a place for women who feel like maybe they don't belong in tech because they don't have the STEM degree, or they aren't doing the coding or whatever. And, you know, we all belong in tech. And that's why we got WomenITpros. So let's give another round of applause to Jen. Thank you. And we will see you either the 4th Friday in January if you want to join us in Alt Space, or the 2nd Friday in February, where we'll be doing our Twitter Spaces exploration.
Thanks for creating the space, Kathy. Much appreciated.